Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. So, we are back again today with the massive news of the day, and probably history in the making for at least very first time. Today has been the lowest inflation has been since 2021, and this is something to celebrate because President Trump once again is delivering. But of course, you have the liberal media in your face right here trying to take that down because we know they won't give him any benefit of the doubt that, hey, look, we were wrong that tariffs were inflationary. They aren't. It's been a month and a half. And the fact is, it's not, prices aren't going to go up, period. Inflation is going down. It's in a 4-year low. So obvious, but the liberal media, they're not happy with this news. So this is why they try to create ultimately they try to create a alternative reality. You'll see, like the NPR says, inflation cools in April, but tariffs could append a picture in coming months. Oh no. Like, forget it. Tariffs aren't going to affect anything. They proved to be non-inflationary. The trade wars are almost ending. We got what we wanted. But of course, the liberal media, like the NPR, for example, they don't really care. This is not the news they wanted. Fox says the tariffs are here. Inflation isn't. What gives? We know that Fox is a very left-wing network, and they'll go and create silly shenanigans there. The Wall Street Journal, stock market news today, Dow slips after CPI shows inflation slowed to 2.3%. So obviously there are some media that will tell the truth, but media like NPR, they cope, right? They're coping over this, and it's not just because they were wrong. The mainstream media, the legacy media, they were wrong. And obviously, this does not make them look good. Their credibility is going down every day. And really, it just shows that whose side they are on. They are rooting against America. They're rooting against your pockets. They're rooting against your bank accounts. They want you to suffer financially. They should be celebrating this. If they actually cared about you, they actually cared about America, if they actually cared about democracy, they would celebrate America's success when it comes to the slowing and easing of inflation. But no, they try to create this alternative reality that for some reason we're still in an economic crisis. Really, I think we're averting away from the crisis. The stock market's going up. We have the Dow going up. We have the inflation easing. America has expanded through trade. We have made a lot of deals with Saudi Arabia yesterday. This is good, but apparently the mainstream liberal media does not think so. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some footage of course, previous footage that we're going to go ahead and skip the previous notorious ratings here, but we're going to go ahead and start talking about what CNCP has to say, and we'll go forward from there. And hopefully we don't get much ads. Hopefully that was the only one. So let's go ahead and talk about what CNBC has to say, which is the very woke economic side of NBC News. Oops.
Here we go. These are April read on the Consumer Price Index, arguably one of the most important metrics at this point in time. Up 0.2 on headline, and that is a tenth lighter than expected. And do remember, in the rearview mirror, at least up to now unrevised, that minus 0.1 was a 5-year low. Let's strip out food and energy. Up 0.2, also 1/10 light to expectations, and it follows up 1/10, which was a 4-year low. Let's take a broader view. Move year over year on headline. 2.3. Yes, you guessed it. 1/10 lighter than expectations. 1/10 lighter in the rear view mirror. And it also now represents a fresh 4-year low because it's lower than our last look, sequentially lower. And finally, year over year, ex food and energy, known as core, comes in at 2.8. That equals expectations, equals our last look, and equals the fact that it's a 4-year low. Now, I like doing the indices. This is a CPI index. It goes all the way back to 1913, comes in at 320.795, a new all-time high. Pretty much happens every month. The index itself makes new highs. And if we look at core, which started in 1957, it comes in at 326.43, and you guessed it, another all-time forever high. We see that yields are moving down a bit because we have made progress. What the irony here is the rearview mirror, those rates were so much smaller 4 to 5 years in those interim periods at a time where the renewed Fed look on inflation due to potentially tariffs. We went a year and a half, Joe, where we really made no progress, but yet the Fed seemed to pretend we did. Now we're making real progress, and all anyone could talk about.
Yeah, but the thing is, half of the liberal media won't. But we're going to go ahead and skip Greg Foreman here. We'll jump into the next clip, where we have some TikTok coverage. But let's see what this has to say.
A measure of inflation at the retail level was released moments ago and showed that inflation essentially held steady. Let's start right there. What do these numbers tell us about inflation, where the economy is right now?
You know, the good news is the economy, I think, is in a lot better of a place, honestly, than a lot of economists had expected at this point, especially given all of the conversations we've been having over the last several months about the impacts and almost psychological impacts that tariffs can create around buying things, people pulling things forward, spending more money to do certain things. That has not happened at the levels that I think had been anticipated. It could still happen, meaning some of that could filter out into maybe some data that comes next month or the month after. But this economy has been remarkably resilient and is really a demonstration of just how flexible the economy can be, and maybe even more flexible than some economists had been anticipating.
Number, are you happy?
I think, look, this number, you're going to hate this. This number doesn't matter because the tariff effects are going to really start to show up in next month's number.
Next month.
But the Fed probably is going to cut this year. And I understand the wait and see, but you've got 3% growth last year. We're probably slowing to around 1% growth this year. And so inflation, they're going to have an easier time saying this is a one-off level shift in prices. And they're going to be able to look beyond that. And that's what they really want to do.
Is that because you think the jobs market is going to decline as a result, or you think just the GDP?
I think there's going to be some more slack, and there should be more slack in the labor market if we're slowing to 1% growth this year.
Why are we slowing? Uncertainty, all the things the tariffs did?
All
Was it self-inflicted?
Things. Yeah. But the whole first half of the year is so volatile because you've got incredible pull forward of demand. So you have this explosive private demand, final domestic demand in the first quarter. You're probably going to have flat to negative demand in the second quarter only because you pulled so much demand forward. So,
okay, yeah. That's cope. But basically, yes, supposedly, yes, fewer jobs will be created because on paper, what have we removed? We've removed illegal immigrants. A lot of them were working. But the liberal media, they'll say, this is horrible. We're removing working illegal aliens. As much as we want them to succeed in life, they're not supposed to be here, period. They broke the law. So if we are going to exempt these illegal aliens and let them stay here and work their jobs, then we can no longer say no one's above the law. That is a horrible example, and we're going to be taking it, and people will revolt over this. Like, let's just say your father or your brother has been pulled over for drunk driving. on paper, you could clearly say that, hey, that my father, my brother, he shouldn't have been drinking while driving, or he shouldn't be drinking while under the influence, and you accept the accountability. But now, apparently, we bend the rules, and we can expect more crimes to be committed. So basically, this is a horrible example, especially in our era, where mental health is a crisis going on right now. And the last thing we need is exemptions. No. The fact is, they broke the law. They came in illegally, and yes, they're creating all these jobs. Good. But then again, on paper, it says no one's above the law. And yes, it will result to the fall of jobs, the fake jobs that were created under Biden. But those jobs really weren't supposed to be popping up, because those were popping up from people that weren't supposed to be here. So let's go ahead and see what CNN has to say about this.
Has touted win after win. He's been doing so many things, and it appears that Congress is sitting at the sidelines saying, okay, I guess there's nothing we can do. And that's how the public views Congress right now. What is your response to that, the way that the public is seeing all of this?
That's accurate. That is what the Republican-led Congress is doing, is absolutely nothing.
Does anyone have thoughts on last?
All right. I hate the ads. Like, seriously. They give me zero warning, too, so. All right.
Wait, you're saying?
So here's this woke Congress. Seth Moulton doing coping.
Absolutely nothing. We're legislating on reducing regulations for walk-in refrigerators. That's the kind of stuff that we vote on right now. And actually, I think the public would like us to have a say in tariff policy. I mean, I don't think that Trump gets a lot of credit for cleaning up his own mess. You know, my 4-year-old gets credit if she cleans up her own mess, but the president, not so much. What are we actually getting here? Donald Trump is weak on China, is the bottom line. He's weak on China. He's been weak on China for a long time. And look, I've got no quibble with the Chinese people, but the Chinese Communist Party, yeah, like I don't like it when they're stealing our ideas and our businesses. I don't like it when they're trying to start a war over Taiwan. I don't like it when they disappear people who disagree with the regime. Although,
and you're totally fine with China taking advantage of us. You see how that works? Other countries first, America last. Oh, I'm not fine if China picks on Taiwan, but if it picks on us, it's fine. Because we know, I've done a video a couple days ago showing the whole entire map going for China. We have the countries, North America, that's it, when it comes to trade policy. And the claim that Donald Trump's weak on China, that's the most bogus thing ever. He slapped them with 100% tariff, rising it up. And we know this guy for sure was boo-hoo whining and crying. You slapped him with 100% tariff. It's gonna hurt America. Well, that's what is expected. I mean, that's holding China accountable. And what's China doing right now? They are coming to the table. They are bending the knee. They're trying to do it discreetly and secretly, but they're hurting massively, and that's what we want.
Maybe that's where Trump finds some companionship with Xi Jinping, the same way he has a bromance with Vladimir Putin.
Scott, you want to jump in? I see you.
This whole idea that he's weak on China. Did you not read the news about what Secretary Bessent found out in these meetings, that during the Biden administration, the Chinese officials said, yeah, we knew we could ignore Biden. We could ignore whatever agreements we had because he was too weak and would never, ever stand up to us or stop us. Now they've been drugged to the table by a strong American president. And for all the talk from China, from Beijing, oh, we're going to outlast the Americans. We're fortified to outlast the Americans. A few days into this, they're in Switzerland, cutting the beginnings of a deal that's going to be good for the United States, admitting some of the things that they have to admit in order to get a more balanced situation with us. This is a total win for the president, and it's a total win for the rock star Scott Bessent, who goes overseas and pulls an amazing rabbit out of a hat. But do not forget, they told him we ignored Biden because he was so weak and we could afford to do it.
You know you're losing when you have to bring Joe Biden into the narrative.
I didn't say
my gosh. Oh my gosh. No. Because this is cope, like literally. Oh, like the thing that happened, the big thing happened in China didn't happen. Like the last video I did, well, not what the last one was Albania, but the one before that didn't happen. No. China is still strong. Like this lady, once again, is rooting against America. She refuses to celebrate this major win for America. Instead, she'd rather celebrate China winning. This is what I'm talking about. They are America last, pro-China.
Chinese did. They are losing. I agree with you. The Chinese are losing.
The reality
they brought it up.
No, the reality is when you have to make your point,
they brought it up.
Back to Joe Biden.
It's not me. It's
what
them.
is happening is not
Let's
working in your
talk about
favor.
Joe Biden.
Is you don't like watching sausage being made because this administration does something that none other has. Make it all open, make it all transparent. There's going to be volatility, which, by the way, has ended up being an incredible buying opportunity. Just when you're in the guts and concerned about how bad it's going to get, had you bought the market at the dip, you've had a phenomenal year. The point is you can't just look at it by the hour. You got to wait for the outcome. Now, Trump is unusual. And look, what I've learned is don't look at the noise. My goodness, you can't deal with Trump's noise. Look at the signal.
And don't listen to the liberal voice, too, like this network. But I'm glad CNN has those voices on. MSNBC would not do would never, ever have someone like Scott Bassett. Notice that they don't ever review Republicans on MSNBC. Like, you go through, you want to watch election night 2024, not one Republican. Oh, wait, hang on. There were Republicans, but only from the Lincoln Project. And the Lincoln Project's bought and sold to Marxism, along with other rhinos. And they're 100% committed Democrats. So they don't count. We're talking about MAGA Republicans like Scott Bassett. Well, not Scott Bassett, but Scott Jennings, who is a very good debunker. But obviously, this is very good news. Liberal media, they're coping, they're seething, and we know what side they're on. They are pro-America when Democrats are running America. But when Democrats aren't running America now, and Democrats are super unpopular, they get very angry, and they start to root against America. They start to root for our adversary, something that Democrats accuse Republicans of doing due to some stupid rumors when it comes to Russia and Trump. But we have it right in front of you right now, Democrats just refusing to acknowledge this huge historic win, a 4-year low. Inflation, major issue in 2024. And all this talk, Trump's doing bad with the economy. Well, they can't say that anymore. He got inflation down. Well, inflation doesn't go down, period. It slows. But inflation is slowed to 2.3%. That's something that Joe Biden couldn't even do. He couldn't get inflation back to slow it down. He couldn't. But Donald Trump, the guy that the liberal media is saying is destroying the economy, got it down to a 2.3% gap. It's not going to happen. The tariffs are not going to start a recession. That is debunked. That is over. It's going down rapidly. And I can guarantee you when we get our May jobs report, we'll be getting more jobs. Although, let's keep in mind, we are getting rid of illegal aliens, and that will result to the job market going down. But let's just say we are going to have, by the months advancing, our economy is going to get better. What's to blame? Waste, fraud, and abuse. Cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. The power of Doge and Elon Musk. People will be thanking Elon Musk. Thank you for my taxpayer dollars are not going to these corrupt programs. And not to mention the programs that are been off the hook. They're gone, and we are trying to get this economy back and going. They're going to be thanking Elon Musk. And of course, the left-wing revolutionaries, they won't be happy. They'll never be happy. We would probably sell Israel to Palestine, and they will still not be happy. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. A phrase that Greg likes to use. But What do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.